5-Star Weekly. An Asian Atlanta United player has been signed, but it's not who most people thought it would be. We're getting all that and more coming up. Before we get into it, become part of the notification squad by hitting the bell next to the subscribe button on YouTube. Welcome to the show, 5-Star fam. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2025. It is the first episode in a little bit of time. We took a little bit of a break just to refresh and, see our family and all that. But you guys are our family too, of course, with you guys being the 5-Star fam. So also much love to the Patreon fam as well. Notably Gavin, Jordan, Niall, Andrew, Chris, Nick, and Jeff. But we've got some news that we can talk about, and definitely some mailbag questions that have been burning in your minds. It seems obvious because, you guys definitely want some players, and we will get into all of that. But speaking of players, let's get into the news. And there was a mysterious and cryptic social media post from Atlanta United. It said pretty much that stay tuned in Japanese, Volume 1, but also hashtag 5 stripes don't stop. That's the, regular stuff that always happens with the 5 stripe don't stop. But the Volume 1 was interesting, and especially as well what they posted, which seemed to be probably an AI generated picture of a soccer ball, or not a picture, but a video of a soccer ball getting kicked from New York City, it seems, to Japan. And, well, with the rumors that most people have been hearing of Kyogo Furuhashi, most people probably thought it was going to be a Kyogo of Celtic. Unfortunately, he has been playing pretty much for Celtic, pretty recently. I think today even. Full transparency, we're recording this on a Wednesday. So, it seems probably a little bit that, okay, it just, waiting a whole day to essentially give what actually it was seemed a bit weird. But Volume 1, meaning there might be a Volume 2. So will there be a Kyogo Furuhashi sighting in the future? That's the real question here. But before we get into who actually it was, I'm sure most of the people have seen it online, but we'll talk about it. I'm going to pose the question to you, Michael. Is Kyogo Furuhashi going to be coming to Atlanta United?
Well, if you ask the MLS website, he surely will be, because they had already posted a blurb about him being an Atlanta United player, and that they've signed him as our new striker and as a DP. And strangely, to the exact same contract details for the other player that we have actually signed, who is also Asian. So there may have been a little bit of some miscommunication going on there. It was like a 1 year with a 1 year option, which for our DPs and our central strikers, that is not really the avenue we tend to take with the contracts for them. Garth has often stated that we want guys who are wanting to be here for the long haul. And as a face of a franchise, that's what you'd also expect, because that was the idea for Gigi. Didn't pan out. That was absolutely the kind of the blueprint with Joseph Martinez. So they definitely want to get back to that, and I don't blame them. So that was very strange, to say the least. That was
hilarious. That was, in terms of all-time goofs, up there. Top 3, probably not 2, probably 1, because that is pretty egregious. And it's posted pretty much exactly the same time. It seems like there was a giant miscommunication at MLSsoccer.com. But yes, it was definitely, having had worked at some media companies, in a sense, that basically, you have people that are ready to go, having written up things, and essentially, they'll go into the system and hit publish, and then unfortunately, if something is wrong, yeah, they'll unpublish it, but it'll still show up in Google searches. It'll still show up for a while until, obviously the internet scrubs it. So yeah, that's the unfortunate part about posting something that's just very, very wrong. And also, yeah, to your point, the 1 year contract plus 1 year option would be a really strange deal for a DP when you spend all that money. Imagine spending all that money for Miranchuk, for Thiago Almada, and only signing them to a 1 year and 1 year option. I mean, you'd be completely just handcuffing yourselves. I thought of another thing that I probably could have said, but I'm going to refrain. But, yeah, essentially, yeah, who it actually was. It wasn't a 29-year-old Kyogo Furuhashi Japanese player. It was a 31-year-old Keiman Togashi, and he came on a free transfer. And yes, it will be a contract for the 2025 season and an option for 2026. He most recently played for Sagan Tosu in the Japanese top flight. He was born in the United States. And then he also brings 10 years of professional experience to Atlanta. He'll occupy a supplemental roster spot, be a domestic player. And Chris Henderson mentioned that he's a forward that our scouts have been following over the past few months. He'll join us as a domestic player and brings over 10 years of professional experience. He scored goals at every club throughout his career with the amount of games and competitions that we are in. Depth at the forward position is always something we need. Feel that Keiman will fit in nicely with our group of forwards. So, he being around 5'9", 5'10"-ish, maybe depending on the day, if he slouches or not. Seems like he is a player that can win some headers, win some aerial duels. Not a prolific goal scorer, unfortunately. Seemed to be a player that previously played more at some wing positions as well. But I do have some concerns about the aerial duels. Obviously, it's probably not as physical of a league in Japan as MLS is, as it's pretty international in MLS. So usually you have some of the more physicality that's a little bit more present in the States. So I don't know how that's going to translate maybe as well, unless he just has some really, really good jumping power that's, we are not aware of. But, it seems like more of a depth piece, probably a third striker type of signing. But, what are your thoughts about Togashi?
Yeah, he strikes me as a third string striker as well. Some people were calling him the Asian Daniel Rios, so I think that might be accurate, but he might not even be as prolific, even though Daniel wasn't super prolific with us. But he did score when he was called upon, which was awesome. So I'd hope that he'd be able to do the same for us. However, my ideal scenario is that he doesn't have to play that much. He doesn't have to do that much. We don't have to rely upon our second and third striker as much as we did in previous seasons. So that's just something I want to get right off, out of the way right off the bat. He doesn't seem super tall, and that's just not it. What kind of struck me is what kind of profile, because we've talked about this before. Maybe we should have, in terms of our striker core, different kinds of strikers that have different styles, so we can deploy them depending on the opponent and the style that we need to play at. So, like, we have kind of a tallish guy with Tiare. If we had Kyogo, then I guess, like, that's just kind of a traditional poacher, tap-in merchant type of striker. And then I guess, like, Tiare is the target, hold-up play striker-ish. And then you have
not necessarily but go ahead.
And then you have him, which I'm kind of like, I don't know where he belongs or what else he offers that we don't already have. So it is a little bit of a strange signing to me. The idea that he doesn't occupy an international slot is very good to me. So that's awesome. But outside of that, I mean, we're not expecting big numbers or a lot from him because he's third string and he does not bring big numbers with him. So it's considering how old he is as well, I doubt he's going to develop anymore or kind of figure things out. But maybe just the system that we play in would be more suited to him. I don't know what system he's used to or what would be best for him. But ideally, he could do a little bit better with us, with the way we plan on using him. I just don't see what that is yet. So hopefully that will be something more. I'm inclined to think it will be something a little bit more interesting than just he's a warm body, because Chris Henderson is good as what he does. So I'm expecting this to fit in a way that we may not, or at least I don't see yet.
Yeah, and as an Asian American, as a fellow Asian American, with this guy, he did play in Japan pretty much most of his career up until now, essentially. Of course, like aforementioned, was born here. But as an Asian American, I definitely want the representation to actually be good. And obviously, I have my doubts here. I hope I'm rooting for him. I'm hoping that all the playing time he gets, he balls out and he proves us all wrong. But let's be honest, this isn't a signing that's going to pull up any trees right now. And with the presentation of that post, I mean, it seems like there was some hype that they were trying to bring here, and I don't know. Hopefully the volume 2 is going to be something that's actually.
I think that's a nod to that. Yeah. I think that volume 1, and it's kind of funny that they're kind of tangling them together in that they're both playing in Japan / from Japan. So I guess that's interesting that they're tangling them together that way. So they link it volume 1 to obviously probably volume 2. I think that's a pretty logical leap to make there. So to me, that sounds like it shouldn't be very long. I mean, it would be weird to drop volume 1 and then wait a significant amount of time between volume, because then you just get people sitting there going, when's volume 2? And time is running out. I mean, one of the questions the mailbag will get to, but I mean, time's running out to sign striker, so we need to get moving on Kyogo if he's going to indeed be the piece. And it would seem a little strange with the MLS website fluke and with our rumors with to the guy and how much we're like kind of in bed with what it looks like with signing this guy. If it doesn't happen, and then they have the Japanese volume 1 thing, and then if Japanese volume 2, and it's not him, that would be very weird. It seems pretty certain that they believe they will get him. So
yeah. Logic says, but I think we've been trolled by the team before and the media team, so anything could happen. And I think at this point we're just hoping that we're not being trolled here, because it's not really feeling that good. It'd be
very funny if it's like volume 1, it's like NYC to Japan or Tokyo, and then it's volume 2 and it's just like they just had to get a different striker, and it's just a completely unrelated vignette that they put on there.
Yeah, I know, man. Yeah, it's hopefully this is just actually what we think it is, because otherwise I think there's gonna be a lot of disappointed people, unfortunately. But moving on. So Ronny Deila, he has arrived in Atlanta, and the 49-year-old, obviously coming from NYCFC previously in some different stops before that. Yes, he has now arrived. He kind of did some interviews, a press conference, some little nuggets that we'll kind of pick and choose here. So basically, he answered why Atlanta United. He says he's unbelievably excited to come, and there was no doubt in his mind that he wanted to do it. He also likes that it's a family club, likes the feel of the people, and that sounds weird, but yeah, you guys know what I mean. But yes, the vibe of the people. Yes, there we go. Yeah, he's played against Atlanta before, and yeah, he knows what the fans are about, what the stadium is like, the kinds of opportunities they have to win something and to create something special. So yeah, he said, quote, "This is a dream to have an opportunity to come here and work with you." So he's saying the right things there. That's really fantastic. And yeah, as well, kind of working with Garth Lagerwey, Chris Henderson, how much of a thing that kind of played into his decision. And he said, yeah, it's about the person. It's always about the chemistry. We three are very similar in the way we see things. We all love to win, but at the same time, we understand that we have to be a strong team together. We have to understand we have different roles into the team and that we support each other and have a strong, united culture from the top. It'll come down through the whole organization. I feel like the values have a very similar, they have is very similar to the values that I've had all my life as well, and that we can get the best out of each other. I have very good feelings so far in these things. So, definitely continuing saying the right things here. Yeah, he also picked his favorite soccer legend, Diego Maradona. And so, yeah, he said he'd love to have dinner with Maradona. Obviously, that's not possible anymore, rip. But, definitely a great one to pick. I think a lot of people, I think probably around his age as well, probably more Maradona fans. But, probably some Pele as well. It's probably just a matter of, who they favor, really. But, yeah, as far as his coaching philosophy, I think, which is pretty important here, he said, "Winning is the most important thing when you come to a professional sports, that's for sure. But I don't believe that you win things if you don't have your own play. You need to control games with the ball and also without the ball, to have as much possession in their half and dictate the tempo in the game. Every game, when you go into it, you will see the same pictures over and over again. I believe that you have to have a foundation with hard work. You need a family feeling. Everybody is carrying the team together and doing that very, very hard defensive job. From there, you build your own play on the ball, and that's the hardest part in football. That's about being direct enough. It's about putting balls into the box, getting forward. It's about the counter pressing when you lose the ball, so you can keep energy and intensity into the game. When you see the best teams in the world, that is what they are best at. We will try to have a very clear identity in how we want to play, and that's about being offensive-minded, attacking-minded, but at the same time also very energetic, hard-pressing, and forward-minded." So, yeah, I mean, he basically has described how, probably most protagonist type of playing football teams want to play. You have the pressing from the front. You have, wanting to play on the ball, dictate the tempo, play in the opposition's half, create chances in the box. So, yeah, nothing really too crazy sounding. It's, kind of all a little bit boilerplate at the moment, which, I don't have any complaints. But, Michael, from what you're hearing right now, is there anything that is standing out to you that, maybe you want to touch on?
Not really. I mean, like you said, he hasn't said anything wrong. So, he hasn't made any missteps in terms of the boilerplate stuff. Like, he's doing what he should be saying. He's telling us things that, essentially we also want to hear, which is, not a bad thing. We see his previous kinds of styles. 4-3-2-1 seems to be kind of what he gravitates towards. Semi-familiar with that kind of formation. So, like, we can have some kind of understanding of where he's coming from. I think that it just comes down to the chemistry of the players to really make them exceed where perhaps other teams have not, using similar styles and similar systems. So and that is partially also on the coach to instill that chemistry, and then for the players to do it themselves. So hopefully, we'll be able to see that with our new signings and the new team that comes together. But yeah, I mean, he hasn't said anything wrong yet. So, I mean, there's one thing he did say in one of his interviews, because he's doing the rounds right now, right? So I think he's doing Scarves and Spikes tonight. He's also said that I think like we're the best in the league to him when it comes to like atmosphere, and that's exciting to him. I think it was atmosphere he said. But anyway, like the idea that he said that he thinks we're the best at something here is pretty awesome. And I mean, he's right. He's damn right. So I'm glad it's not just something that we're understanding, experiencing as Atlanta fans, but the rest of the league also understands it. That, even Jim Curtin with his, his shit talk he likes to do with us, he has like thinly veiled compliments that like, Atlanta's a hell of a party, like, yeah. So it's true. Yep. The whole league sees it, and we experience it every time we go to a game, at least recently. So the last like few games of the season, but yeah, when it gets rocking, it's otherworldly.
Right. And yeah, he also spoke with Tyler Pilgrim, and the quote that yeah, you don't F with us, that the team is too nice. Yep, I think that part is very good. That yeah, he's trying to, like I've mentioned it in kind of, pretty much the past years for sure, that we need to be bastards. And there's, yeah, too many players that are just a little too, nicey nice about things and not really imposing themselves, wanting to really just take the game by the scruff of the neck, like, the old saying goes. And yeah, you need players to step up like that. But yeah, he also talked about how his previous club at Celtic, that he had a tradition of coming up to the stands and did a Ronny roar. And yeah, he says, I'm looking forward to that, to get a great relationship with our fans. It's something that's important. We play for the fans. The football is very, very boring without it. That we feel as united as possible is important. We also have to give from ourselves when we are winning and we are happy. I would love to come celebrate with some Ronny roars. So absolutely love to see that. Of course, also we would love to see him probably get down to his skivvies after winning an MLS Cup. So I think that's what I look forward to the most, if we can make that happen.
That's tough, man, because it's like now that he's done that, everywhere he goes, like that's the standard. Like,
right? Absolutely, and it absolutely, it has to happen. If like it's without question. If we win MLS Cup, like, bruh. Like at the very least, and probably hopefully at the very most, skivvies. But the
question's got to be like, how are you gonna outdo what you did in New York City?
It's true. I guess he can run around. It's a little probably more taxing, but hey.
Yeah,
and
take the ball, score a goal, maybe.
Yeah. He probably won't be able to do any knee slides. We know that from experience that that's not a good idea on the turf. But yep. So he also mentioned, I think this is interesting, the kind of music he listens heading into the match. He says different things I like a lot, but I'm a big country fan. Johnny Cash. I don't think he's country, but I love him a lot. I think he's old school country, more maybe a little bit folk as well. But yeah. Johnny Cash. That's a great choice. But yeah, and yeah, as far as anything else, I think that he mentioned, obviously preseason is coming up very, very soon, and yeah, the January transfer window is already underway. We're probably around 21 days left in it, so we also have a lot to do in that time. But yeah, exactly. Michael's saying, motioning, let's move a little bit faster with those transfers, please. But yeah, he basically said for the 17s to know about him that, yep, he's honored and happy to be here, full of energy now to get started. I'm looking forward to meeting the players and more of the staff, and also you, the supporters. Hopefully we can create a great relationship together. We will work so hard now to get into the season in a good way, so we can give you and we can give ourselves together fantastic memories during the seasons. So, I definitely think it's a better vibe than, say, when Frank de Boer came in, than when Gabriel Heinze came in, because I think the positivity, the social awareness, I think is very key here, and I think that's the distinction right now that I'm seeing from Deila versus other hires in the past. But what do you think?
Yeah, like a little bit of that. I mean, he's. I feel like he's a little bit more at risk of sounding like Frank or Heinze wasn't normal. Like, I feel like he's a little bit more normal per se in terms of like, how to like engage with a foreign audience. Because I mean, the culture he comes from is not like super different. It's Scandinavian, but Scandinavian is, in my experience, I've had a lot of experience with Scandinavian culture. It's not that outlandish to us, so it's easy kind of crossover. Whereas like Heinze had trouble with English. That was always a stumbling thing, and Frank was from the Dutch, being a
very direct,
extremely forward, and like no humor, is very, so that was a little bit abrasive. So like that was there's like confusing and obtuse, and then there's abrasive, and now we have kind of charismatic and jovial and stuff. So like that's just better overall when you're gonna get that from a coach, or really from anyone. So and at this time in this part of our life, in terms of Atlanta United, the club, it's something I think we need. But I do think though that he's going to need an edge, because this team, like I like it, and you're starting to see it with like the comments about team's been too nice. There's got to be an edge. It has to come with, because Gonzo was obviously didn't have the edge. He was very buddy and nice and stuff, like, not that he was the reason why they quote unquote played too nice, but it was that it seemed like he was lacking an edge, and so I think Ronny has that edge, or at least it's starting to show a bit. But he's not just completely like hard-nosed. He's also charismatic, so that's really nice. I mean, not to say Gonzo wasn't, he definitely was, but there's some element to him, the edgeness of Ronny, that is something that I think Gonzo lacked, and that's just kind of this profile of coach is something I think we haven't really had. So with all of these traits, so I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, indeed. And so let's move on to our next and last bit of news. Is that Patrick Weah, a former Minnesota United player, he apparently has signed with Atlanta United, maybe the Twos. That's according to his own Instagram story. He kind of broke his own news with pretty much showing himself in some Atlanta United gear. But he's a 21-year-old, listed at 6'1". He's a forward. He played last year at HB Koga in Denmark. But like I mentioned, probably an Atlanta United 2 player. Just seeing his profile, with his stats, with it seems like more of a guy that could just be depth and kind of the in case of emergency, kind of break glass type of thing. So welcome to the club. It seems like Weah has joined the Atlanta United Twos, so that does it for the news, and it gets us into the mailbag. And you guys send these stories in Discord and IG story. Please continue to do so, and we might answer your question in the future. But first question comes from Nick in the ATL. He asks, in reality, how pumped do you expect the fan base to be this season? I don't know if he wants us to quantify it, but like
I expect
1
it
out of
to
10.
be very pumped. Like I mean, I don't think it'll be like 10 out of 10. Because that would assume that there's a certainty that we're going to have like world beaters on our team, and this team is definitely aiming for MLS Cup this year, which I don't think is necessarily the case yet. So I think maybe there's a potential for that to get to that level of hype, but it's not there yet, and I frankly don't expect it to be going into the season. I expect it to be, though, very high, higher than it was probably the previous years. Even though, we had Thiago and Gigi, I still think it will probably be higher. Just with, Carlos not being here and everyone getting that, taste out of their mouths, and just the whole new leadership. I think that there's a lot of positives to look forward to, and this is the first real kind of go at things with this new, grouping of leadership. So we'll see, how it goes, but I think there's plenty of reasons to be hyped for the season, and especially if we nail these signings that supposedly are coming. Garf's been a little like, I don't know if we'll get both DPs this window, but, if we at least get the 9, it's, looking at the roster on paper, I think there's plenty of things to be hyped about.
Yeah. And hopefully so. I mean, the roster's pretty incomplete at the moment, though. So I'm going to say we should temper until these signings are really through the door. But I would probably give it as a quantifiable number, probably a 7 or 8, that the fan base can be excited. That obviously is not an A grade if we're going with that. But, I think, with kind of the realities of what's going on in the squad at the moment is that, we have 2 DPs to fill, and, there are aspects of it that still are questionable. We have no idea, quite what is going to happen, and some of the other pieces as well. I mean, I think we still obviously need some pieces, for me anyway, a goal-scoring midfielder, not an attacking midfielder, but a goal-scoring midfielder to really help out. So, I think there are those type of things that, I think are still question marks. But next question comes from Ethan, ATL UTD 17s. Isn't it an overreaction to say that the Click deal is the best contractual deal in team history?
I mean, I don't know of a better, like, unless you say like some of Joseph Martinez's early contracts that paid off really, really well with winning MLS Cup and other trophies, like with him. I don't, like, in terms of swindling other teams, this is definitely the top one. But I wouldn't argue that it's definitely up there.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely up there. It's probably number one. I would say, as far as a really good contract, probably for the time, and that's probably why he left. Darlington Nagbe was probably also a very good contract for his production. I would say also
the non-DP. Yep.
Yeah. Let's see. I mean, I'm trying to think of some other ones. I mean, I think Parkey, Lorenowitz, I mean, the fact that they brought so much for really not being, really highly paid players. They were really versatile. They brought so much veteran presence. I mean, those are also very good. But, I mean, let's just be honest. Like, the Click deal is, like, just pennies. Like, it's just, even if it doesn't work out, it's like, well, yeah, we still swindled them. So it's, not a big deal.
Basically, them paying for us to have an older DP. Like, doesn't get much better than that.
We'll take it every time. Next question comes from British Josh Cohen fan. When should the due date be for a DP9, or at least a 9/7 before the alarm should go off?
Yeah, I mean, the alarm probably not yet, but I mean, it's getting there. I mean, like I said, the clock is ticking. The idea is that we need to get some of these players in here, get visas cleared, get them, practicing and getting chemistry built. Because I don't want to be cold coming into the season. Like, it's just not great. And preseason is, only does so much. They really need to just get in there, because it was really frustrating to see Yorgos Yakimakis on the sidelines watching like the first game of the season. Like,
Yeah.
it's just, that's obnoxious. You want him in there. So I hope that we'll be able to get that. It doesn't seem like if they're going to be an international person, doesn't have a green card, like it's probably going to take a while, and you might be looking at a similar scenario like Yorgos was. So yeah. If they're taking this long, yeah.
Right. Well, it's usually this, though. When they're a DP, it's a lot easier for them to probably get their visa expedited in that sense, if I understand the process a little bit. And I don't have a full understanding of it. So, that's my kind of halfway understanding of that. Because some of the other players that we did bring in, they obviously were not DPs. And it took a little longer because, you kind of have to explain that, hey, yeah, okay, maybe they're not like the most important player on the team, but they're still a whatever. They're an international. They're whatever, and with that, hopefully you can convince them to move a little faster. But it is up to pretty much that type of process that you kind of have to go through. But I think it's hopefully within the next week and a half, we have brought in a DP, whether it is the 9 or not. I don't know. I hope it is, but obviously as well. I mean, Kyogo having played, I don't know if it's Kyogo. It's like if you're.
It's weird with Kyogo too, because they're staring down Champions League.
Yeah.
And why get rid of a striker who essentially is getting them there and keeping them in competition to then up and go, and then having them to try and find a new one, which I don't even think they can during this period because of the rules in Champions League. So like, I don't know.
Yeah, and the rules aren't like too crazy. It's just that you do have to find a player that can do the job in Champions League, that has played in the competition a little bit, that you trust, and with Brendan Rodgers being there again, that's he will want to put some trust into whoever he brings on to be able to score in the Champions League. And so it's going to be a question, because yes, some of those players might be cup tied if you're trying to pick somebody from another Champions League side. But it's not the craziest thing to have ever happened, but definitely it can be a hurdle. Next question comes from ATL UTD VIP's favorite Christmas gift.
Oh, mine's got to be new Apple Watch I got. If you can see it,
go a little bit more central.
Kids on there.
Go a little bit more central. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, okay.
Hey.
It's hard. Yeah, picture of the kids on there.
Adorable.
Yeah, it's a new one. I didn't get it, so I don't know all the specs about it, but it's one of the new ones, and one of the more like, there's like 2 models. I guess this is the more rugged one for like outdoor stuff or whatever. So that's all I know really about it, but it has a heck of a lot of bells and whistles on it that I'm still figuring out how to use. So yeah, that's pretty neat.
Love it. Yeah, it does seem bigger than the other one, but for me, I would say, I mean, I'm not pandering here, literally. Yes, it is the Arsenal Bino board that Michael gave, and it's dope. I mean, I haven't been able to break it in yet, but hopefully very soon. And yeah, hopefully we'll just be playing a whole bunch of Bino, like 2 going at the same time. It'll just be madness. But definitely a very heartwarming gift that I very much appreciate. But
you're welcome, my friend.
Thank you. Next question comes from let's see, Patty Ice 14 or underscore 14. What do you hope to see from Atlanta United's new kit for 2025?
Yeah, I mean, so Adidas kind of came out with some of their, like, some leaks came out for some of the other jerseys that are the home jerseys, because not all the ones that come out are for home. Some of them are away because they alternates the teams. It's not all home / not all away getting new ones. So I saw the home ones, and they all kind of have a similar format to kind of the previous home one that we had. What was it, like the 17s kit, right? And that one had this, it has this, so it has the stripes that go up to like about here, and then it has this red block of just kind of nothing, and then the gold trim that starts there. So it seems like there's like kind of a red vacuum there, and then the black stripes. It seems like that's going to be the case again. It's like Adidas gives you this canvas to work inside of. So if we have stripes again, it'll, be headed off there again, and there likely might be another gap unless they do something different with the shoulder pin stripes. So we'll see how that goes. I'm not super looking forward to, because like if we do the stripes again and that's the same kind of canvas that Adidas is giving everybody to work with, I can't see a design that isn't very similar to what we already have. I would like to see something more innovative and interesting. I mean, the black kit is a perfect example of innovating on something that's not going too far away from the original concepts, but still, being very cool and very innovative and interesting. So I would wish it was something like that. Adidas seems to be making it, or at least it seemed like that's not the case. The leaks that I've seen so far for the jerseys around the league have not been inspiring at all. So I'm a little nervous. Hopefully it's not bad, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the what was it called? The black kit, it was definitely it was different. It definitely maybe split opinion at times, but it definitely was the most different of ours. The Star and Stripes was a little bit different, but definitely AC Milan inspired. There are some other ones that around the world with, say, with stripes, it's clever kind of what they can do. I think it was Grego in our Discord that pointed out that I think there was a Inter Milan one that's kind of had the INTER kind of baked into the stripes. That's interesting. But I think either way, for me, I just hope that we're not derivative, we're not hamstrung by too much of the kind of template that's obviously we have to play in the sandbox, if you will. But yeah, I think it's also there is that aspect that's the creative team that's also you have the people at the kind of creative part of the top of the front office. They've been doing some good stuff, like as far as kind of what they've been trying to figure out as far as kind of the how do I voice it exactly? It's basically the each month we have some new inventory that comes out for merchandise and all that. They've been doing a good job every single month. They won an award for it, and I think there is a bit of that. Like that team is designing parts of it, if not the whole thing. So I think we're in good hands. It's just a matter of as far as what I hope to see, it doesn't have to have just straight up, it has to be 5 stripes. Like that, I think severely hamstrings us in terms of creativity. I'd rather see us really stretch the bounds, go outside of the box, and figure out something that's unique to Atlanta, and that I think Atlanta United fans will eat it up if it just looks good. So I think that's the main part.
I heard someone once suggest a River Plate style sash across the chest for Atlanta United. And I didn't in my mind, I don't hate the idea, right off the bat, but I'd really have to see how it was executed to see if it would be good. But I mean, like, ideas like that are possible. So, it could be. I mean, I don't think it'll be that this time, but there's some ideas.
Right. Yeah. If it was diagonal stripes, interesting. So if they really want to play with it, it would be fascinating. But yeah. Next question. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, yeah, sure. Let's go with Run Manny. Why can't Atlanta United sign big name players like LA does?
I mean, okay. So I'm assuming that the guy, the person asking the question, doesn't really know the signing philosophy of the club, and or how it is, kind of been stated going forward. But that is essentially signing players kind of in their prime, and players that are able to kind of integrate well with a team and not just be the one-man show type player. I think that was more of the profile, not, and so it has worked for us in the past. I mean, like right off the bat, we didn't sign big name, essentially like well-known players when we first entered the league, and it absolutely worked out for us. I mean, those are kind of diamonds in the rough that we would talk about sometimes. And then we did sign big name player in Thiago. I mean, everyone had him on their watch list in terms of up and coming talent. But I mean, outside of that, we haven't really signed like the big names. We've signed like kind of these middling names, and they've done. Like Yorgos was a very good signing. If we kept on with him, I feel like we could have done really well with him. And I think they're still attempting. It seems to go back to the Celtic to poach more strikers, so that seems to be an area that's working for us at least, and I believe it is. I think it will as well. I think it's more than enough to do well in MLS, and that kind of stacking the team with DP lights and then buying them down and then having like a large amount of players that are all very good and none of them being like excellent world beaters, I think perhaps can give you a team that can beat a team that is top heavy reliant on just one or two world beaters. So we'll see. I don't know if it'll work out, but it has in the past, so I'm willing to give it a shot again. And I feel like we've seen more times where a team that's way too top heavy fails versus not, in this league at least. So I guess I'm willing to roll the dice on that again.
Right. But I see what you're saying. I think his question also takes into account that LA Galaxy won MLS Cup, and obviously, Ricky Puig, also Marco Royce, being part of that team.
Yeah, I mean, at LAFC with Gareth Bale, but those happened only recently. Like the last. Many times it hasn't worked with Zlatan Ibrahimovic, with Chicharito. The list would go on, and I think I'd rather roll my dice on the more this kind of strategy than a top heavy strategy. But people are also saying that that's MLS 2.0. 3.0 is signing literally Mbappe and winning the league. So I don't know if that's the way to go, but I mean, it wasn't the way to go with Messi in terms of winning the cup. It did win the league, but we want the cup. So
yeah,
I don't know.
And it is that. It's I think people are seeing these big name players, and it's like, well, we're at least the biggest fan base as far as fans that go to games. So why can't we get them too? So I think from that regard, I get it. It doesn't fit our ethos, but I think ultimately with LA Galaxy, with LAFC, they also had good coaching, and that really matters, I think, because as Garth Lagerwey might say that, okay, yeah, it's a 20% uptick if you have a good coach and you can kind of make that difference and make up that difference. Well, I think 20% is a lot. And, we can actually really make a difference making kind of average players into maybe above average players, and then above average players into, premium players. And those premium players, if they can perform as elite players in this league, well, then you have basically, upped your quality of your players with pretty much your coaching staff. And without spending crazy amounts of money, I think that's something that, with Greg Vanney, with LA Galaxy, that's something that he was able to do. He's a proven winner, and he did it again. Not only with LA Galaxy, but with Toronto FC. Obviously, he had, 3 DPs that were very much on another level, but, still a very good team nonetheless. So, next.
But we also have to talk about, before that, we definitely have to talk about the elephant in the room, the fact that teams like New York City, teams like Miami, teams like LA, these are big name cities that everyone in the world knows their names, and they want to live there regardless of anything else. Like, they're just like, yeah, if I ever gonna go to the United States, it's gonna be one of those cities. Like, most of these people have not heard of Atlanta except for maybe as the connection for a flight somewhere. So that's kind of the uphill battle you're fighting there for in terms of international soccer relevance. We're doing much better with our stadium and our attendance constantly hitting top numbers around the world. People see that and people notice that, and that's one really good way of doing that. And winning trophies and other things is another good way. Making headlines, that kind of thing. We're getting there. We're doing that. It's very hard to compete with the beaches of LA and Miami, the international renowned of New York City, even like a city like Toronto. Like, people know it because it's massive in Canada. It's like, these are hard things for a kind of medium, United States city like Atlanta to compete against. It's just tough in terms of like tourism and things of that sort. So, like, you ask a player who may have barely heard of Atlanta before, it's like, well, I would imagine the team in New York and LA are probably the best in the league, and I want to go play there. Like, if they don't do any research, they don't do any homework, they haven't been told anything otherwise, that's probably their generic opinion without knowing anything else. So we have a hill to climb there, and that's just something we're gonna have to deal with.
Right. And it's this, yeah. I mean, I think you're absolutely right there. It's, we're not a small market by any means. We're not, like a Vancouver or like Cleveland or, even Minnesota. I mean, I'm not trying to throw shade at, these markets, but it's just the reality of it is that they would not claim to be a big market either. So, So
Listen, Kansas City was this far away from signing Cristiano Ronaldo.
Because they had discovery rights. But yes, yeah, of course they did. Next question comes from, let's see, Devin McCants, I think. Do y'all think we will run a 2-striker formation in 2025? 4-4-2, 5-3-2.
No, I mean, just based on what it seems like Deila's been comfortable of doing in the past, 4-3-2-1. It seems like something like that instead of a 2-striker system. And it just seems like coaches who come here don't play like that typically. So I'm not expecting that to be the case. I'm just not expecting it to be the case.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, Rob Valentino played a little bit more of a 2-striker system at the end of it, just to kind of be, I think, at times, because Moranchuk, when, before he came into the team, there were aspects of that where, we just needed more attackers, for one. But then the other aspect of it as well, we have, I think as far as at that point, we kind of needed to play with 2 strikers to kind of have that balance, because we didn't have wingers. We basically, with Xande Silva being out at times, with Edwin Mosquera being out at times, even Tyler Wolff as well, we were extremely shorthanded, and so yeah, you kind of just had to figure out how to get 4 attackers on the pitch at times. And so I think in this kind of iteration of Atlanta United, Ronny Deila is going to be just a little bit more, kind of what the modern game is going to be, which is usually with just one striker, and having more midfielders. But
yeah, I think I misspoke earlier. I think I said 4-3-2-1. I think 4-2-3-1 is what I meant to say.
Yeah, 4-2-3-1. Yeah, but so next question and last question comes from Frosted Frakes 12. What's an honest projection for where the team lands on the table this season? In an obviously way too early projection when we don't even have all our players. But yes, let's put it on the spot.
Yeah, before I get into that, I think we might be doing something related to that this season with our community in the Discord. So this is going to be a moment to plug the Discord. And also, if you wanted to have known about any of the signings that are, have happened or are about to happen, the first place to hear it is in this Discord. So they ping it. We got what I like to call the Baker Street Irregulars. If anyone knows anything about Sherlock Holmes, like our community ferrets out all these leads and these clues, and they put them together, and they're just like, hey, I think this guy's about to be signed. And sure enough, boom, the next day, couple minutes, whatever, that's the announcement. So if you want to be on top of that, the Discord is the place to be. So in terms of where we're going to land on the table, I mean, like I said, a lot of reason to be optimistic this season. I'm going to say we should be at least shooting for top 4. I don't think we're going to win the cup this year. That would be a lot to ask for a brand new team, brand new coach, brand new everything. I think it'll take a little bit of time to become the dynamo that I think we should be. So I think though that a respectable within the top 4. So I'd probably put it, it depends on obviously a bunch of things, but I would like to put it in the top 4. But if you have to hold me to something, I'd say maybe 3rd, being slightly more optimistic than 4th.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's way too early to really make this prediction when you don't know what the other teams look like either. That should play a part into predictions for sure. But as far as optimism and all that, I agree. Yeah, we should be aiming for top 4. I think, there is talent in this side that can be optimized to make us be in the top 4. If we are 4, I think that's probably where I think we land. I think at least this season, unless we sign some players that just really kind of move that needle and kind of put it over the top. But as well with Ronny Deila, with implementing his system and him ingratiating himself within Atlanta, it will take some time, as well as Chris Henderson. I mean, to expect an instant success, like Mike is saying, it's a tall order, and I would temper those expectations. But definitely a playoff team. Definitely, maybe not definitely, but hopefully a team that can go at least a couple rounds into the playoffs and win a cup. So whether it's U.S. Open Cup, whether it's Leagues Cup, hopefully we can prioritize some of the competitions to winning some silverware. So I think that's that should be the most important thing, is try to win some silverware, and I think that will satiate some of the fan base. But yeah. So that is the mailbag. Thank you guys so much for sending those questions in. And that's pretty much the show, except for the question of the day. And the question of the day is, what would you like the new Atlanta United primary kit to look like? Let us know in those comments below. Looking forward to what you have to say.
Yeah,
guys,
and if you have a reference in terms of, what the kit should look like reference another kit that you know of too. Mm-hmm. They'd be like, it would be cool if it looked like something like this. That would be really helpful and really interesting to look at.
Yeah, link it with some Google images or something. Obviously, you can't, I think, add any actual images into YouTube comments, but yeah, also you can drop in on the Discord and join in on the discussion as well. But that does it for the episode there, guys. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. That's been Michael. I've been AJ. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.